Hey, you guys, welcome to the Alliance podcast. And my name is Mishell Latour. I am a transformational coach and an energy healer. And today we have my two hosts, which is Kevin Drummond, mindset coach, and Dr. Sharma. Today's episode is going to be about becoming one with God and worshiping God. That has to do with religion and spirituality, right? When it comes to religion, a lot of people worship God. We think that God is this man in the sky judging us, and we are down here and on earth. And in spirituality, it's more about knowing and finding out that you are one with the creator. So what do you guys' thoughts are about that?
Well, first of all, the synopsis was amazing. That was kind of the first part of my life. I say first part of my life because I was raised Catholic. Everyone in my family, my mom's side was Catholic. And so I was in church every Sunday. I went to a Catholic school. And I didn't realize how much fear I was truly living in. Uh, Anytime I did something or I thought about doing something, I was thinking, am I going to have to go to confession? And for people who aren't familiar with Catholicism, if you make an error or you're doing something that is looked down upon or frowned upon, you would go to something called confession, in which you have to confess these deeds or actions that you did to another human being. Has the same blood, hemoglobin going through his veins as I do, but I'm having to tell him about where I went wrong, as if, he was perfect and I was not. Uh, but needless to say, this whole time I thought that this individual, this deity, was up in the sky in the clouds. And, I would pray on my knees at night, asking him to forgive me for where I, wasn't listening to my parents. I was asking for permission in order to have my dreams come true. But what it also did, and I didn't realize it until I got older, was it allowed me to take the accountability and responsibility off of me. Because if I did something wrong or if something didn't work out, well, God just didn't want it to happen. When really it was like, no, Kevin, you just didn't do what you were needing to be doing at that time. Like you didn't prepare enough, or you didn't plan enough, or you didn't collaborate enough. And so for a large majority of my life, I thought God was outside of me. And I also thought a lot of the power and the accountability was with this person that I've never seen before, right? Only to find out that God and divinity and all things that are created was actually within myself. As I started going down that journey of discovery, I started finding out about different scriptures and different pieces of different religions that all said the same thing. That said that everything is within us, not without us, as above, also below. And it's a really empowering feeling once you realize that you have all the power. You have everything that you need to manifest your greatest reality. And Nick has been sharing so many things with me since meeting him. Mishell, you've introduced so many things to me, and I feel like the more knowledge I have, and that's somewhere else also, and then I'm gonna cut it off, was that I thought that knowledge was power. I thought that, oh, you see the books behind me. I've read every book you could possibly imagine. I thought if I had all this knowledge, life was going to be great. But knowledge is not power. Knowledge applied is power. That's true wisdom. That's true power when you're learning about things and you're applying it situationally. But it is such a great feeling to know that I have all the power. I have everything that I need to create what I truly want for myself and for my family and for my friends and for my colleagues. And for such a long time, I thought that heaven and God were, something that was external. So that was how I guess my relationship came to be what it is now from where it came from, in more or less words. So yeah.
It's similar, man. Like when you were talking, a lot of that was resonating with me. And I grew up in a Hindu background. I grew up where, like a lot of different families, religion was a big aspect of it. We are a part of the Brahmin caste in an Indian society. That means you're like the priests of Hinduism. So religion played a large role in my upbringing. And, I just kind of went along with it, right? We're kids. We are indoctrinated into a family, and we're indoctrinated into a lifestyle, and we just have to go with the flow, because if we didn't go with it, we would get in trouble. So, when you realize that over time, I would be doing all the prayers that my mom would ask me to do. I would be doing all the, all the different fasts that would needed to be held, which in the Hindu religion, there is many fasts that occur throughout the year. And I was like, all right, I'm putting my full belief into what my parents are telling me is the right way to live. And so that's the way I need to live. And then over time, life wasn't going as expected.
Mhm.
And so I started thinking that, I have a really good heart inside. I feel like I'm really kind to people. And for some reason, things aren't working out the way I expect them to. And is that because is God punishing me for something? Because I am devoting myself and doing all the prayers and doing all the things that I've been told to do, but I'm not seeing the results. And then it started kind of leaking into my brain that maybe God doesn't like me. Maybe I am not worthy of those things that I desire internally, because I haven't been gifted those things from God. And then, that starts building up a lot of resentment. And then I remember during college and really med school, I started having a disconnect from God and our religion, because there were things that started happening in the life where I began blaming God instead of looking within myself to see why these things aren't happening to me. Then all of a sudden, my mom got really sick, right when I became a resident. So one of the dreams coming true, I become a doctor, things are finally turning around for me in my life. Mind you, part of that dream was my parents' dream ever since I was a young age, right? So I was indoctrinated to believe that becoming a physician was the ultimate success in life. But again, I love being a physician. It's just, one of those things where, again, at a young age, we are told a lot of different things by our parents, which we feel is the right thing because we trust in them and we believe in what they've been told us, that this is the best way to live. So my mom got sick. Then I remember going to these pundits, these priests, and being like, how can we help, get her out of this situation? I knew as a doctor, she had stage 4 ovarian cancer. So my scientific brain, certainly is kicking in, being like, when I heard that CAT scan report, it didn't sound good. And normally that means life expectancy is less than 6 months. But that's my mom. And I need some sort of hope. So of course, I turned to religion and at that point to being like, I've seen miracles happen before in other people in other situations, and they told me that I need to pray to a certain God, and I need to do this, and I need to go to the river and with a seashell and dump water on myself, and all these different things. And if you do that, she can live longer, she can live better. So then you start believing in that, hey, okay, let me go do those things. And it kind of takes over your logical brain at times, and so I realized, despite doing those things, my mom still passed away. And so that began a long period for me where I was completely separated from religion, God, because all the things that I was taught didn't turn out the way I expected them to turn out. I felt abandoned. I had a lot of resentment towards God, and I was just escaping that part of my life and just diving into work. But I then realized in this journey, which I feel is what a spirituality is a journey of trying to figure out who you are, trying to figure out why you're here, trying to find meaning. And it's not that you need to find the answers. It's that you need to find out who you are. And part of that is to understand you have a dark side to you that needs to be incorporated, or you need to be made aware of. And so during this whole process where chaos was occurring, I realized that it was actually like a dark night of the soul, a spiritual journey had began for me to kind of figure out what's going on. And I couldn't look to God for those answers. I realized I needed to look within to find these answers. Why is it that I haven't found like the love of my life? Why am I not married? Why haven't I felt like I've gotten to the top of my career? All these things started, piling up. Then, other adversity started occurring. And then my foundation started shaking until a point where I just collapsed. And so during that period where I was in my darkest place of my life, and I was basically isolated, I couldn't turn anywhere besides turning within. And that's where the magic started occurring. That's where I started realizing, like, you know what, Nick? The reason why you haven't had like love in your life is because you haven't healed from a prior experience that you had with love. You have just bounced from one girlfriend to the next girlfriend to the next girlfriend, and that isn't going to bring you the type of love that you need in your life that's going to bring you fulfillment. The reason why you haven't gotten to where you want in your career is because partly you had just listened to what your parents had said for you was going to be the best route for you to be able to self-actualize and become emotionally fulfilled. But during that time of isolation, I realized practicing in the hospital isn't what's meant for me. What's meant for me is, yes, I want to help heal people, but I want to do that in my own way. I want to create something to be able to do that and have that expanded in a much larger fashion than just being isolated and helping one small segment. And all these things, these answers were coming within. And so now, like a year later, I can see that God is actually, within us. We have all the answers. We are the ones that need to become conscious creators of our lives. And so that's what the beauty is. And I just want to say that religion, I think it's meant for a lot of people, but it's about understanding that you should feel fully connected to that religion. Like it was something that you have chosen to incorporate within your life. As a lot of times that has been passed down to us from generation to generation to generation. But we are the more conscious generation, and we have more tools to be able to make our own decisions as to what feels good within us.
Yeah. What
I
feels good.
love all of what you guys said. I'm sorry for laughing sometimes. I can relate to so many things. Like Nick said, there's nothing wrong with religion. What is wrong with it is people's egos, because the ego seeks to control. And when it comes to religion, we are worshiping a deity, right? So for me, it was Christianity, and I was here worshiping Jesus Christ. And it meant giving 10% of my earnings every Sunday. It meant going door to door, knocking for salvation. And if you don't go, God's going to be mad at you because you're not serving. And it meant making sure that you are wearing dress below, underneath, like your knees, and it meant not watching these types of movies. It meant not going these places. It was just control, control, control for me. And I grew up first Catholic and then Christian, and then I was put into private schools because I was a very rebellious child. I was like, we're gonna be doing this, we're gonna be doing that. So my parents were like, well, we're gonna put Mishell into a little box so she can, follow the rules. And the more people told me, like religion told me to follow the rules, I myself would shame myself, guilt myself, because I was like, okay, I did this to myself and God is probably mad at me because I did this. But then I was carrying that from mom and dad as well. So because of like this being told what to do all the time, I leaned away from Christianity, and I went and did my life and obviously continued to attract toxic partners. But then in that moment where I had enough of the suffering and the pain and solitude, when there was nobody, I too had to look within, right? And I remember there's a lot of things that religion has taught me, which was in that moment, when my darkest moment, I was like, God, I have a little faith of a mustard seed and you can take this, right? But during that journey, that's where the shift happened from Christianity to spirituality, because I had no idea about spirituality. And I never shared this with you guys, but when I was going through it, my mom had sent a picture of me to the shaman in Peru. And they were like, why is my daughter struggling with so much with her relationship and her marriage? Can you help her heal her So he had said, her soul is in a coffin. And I was like, oh my God, like witchcraft. But I didn't know what that meant. So now that I look back, it was just that my soul was dying, right? By being put into a box. And
Oh,
our souls are here to expand, to grow. And I couldn't. I couldn't with the beliefs that I had. I couldn't with how I was treating myself and putting myself through these circumstances unconsciously, having to heal from my trauma. So it helped me understand, like I've always had, and I don't know if you guys can answer this question because I thought about this for an entire week. A long time ago, somebody asked me, how do you believe in something that you cannot see? Like, I didn't have to read my Bible. I didn't have to be told about Jesus Christ. I didn't like the idea of this man because why does it have to be a man? Why does it have to have a picture of what it looks like with the beard? And, like, like, what does it look like? Why does it have to be like that? How do you know? But my thing is, how come I was able to believe always in something that I could not see? Some people born with like that ability to believe and some people aren't? Like, can you guys answer that question?
it's so funny that you brought that up, because one thing that I wanted to bring up was the the power of belief. I did not know specifically about how strong a belief could be. And what is a belief at the foundation? Belief is an idea that you've now accepted and you're now holding on to for dear life, right? When you think about religion, religion is a bunch of beliefs that are connected together within a framework that they've selected and that they are sharing or pushing off on multiple or multitudes of people, right? So what I realized as I went down my journey was that I've always had a strong belief system. That is what actually, it was a gift and a curse, right? Because my belief system came from my family. It also came from my experiences. So when my family that was connected to my belief system was not, let's say, meeting expectations or doing what I thought at that time I deserved, I would see I came from a broken home somewhat, right? Mostly raised by my mom. My dad was there. I saw him on the weekends. But when I saw something falling short, it affected my belief system, right? So a lot of my beliefs at that time were based on, a religion that, I didn't choose, that was pushed upon me. It was based upon values or ideas that my family believed in, but I didn't, right? And so what that translated to me as far as the power of belief within me is a lack of belief in myself. Why? And this is where it all connects. Because we are the power in ourselves, right? So if our power is now based on these people, these traditions, these ideas that we didn't choose, that we just took on because they were given to us by people that we trusted, most of the time our parents, our schools, that's how the schools are indoctrinated, because what our children are trusting that these educators are doing what's in their best interest. Like, we're going to school, our parents are sending us there. They have school bus coming to pick us up, right? They're picking us up. It's not like, there's some devious plan, because why would our parents do that to us? They never question it. But it's the exact opposite.
That's
So
crazy.
I didn't realize the power of belief, and honestly, and I'll leave it at this. Religions, I think at some point, in each one, there was like genuine love and a desire to help people. And I think we're human, so we're imperfect. I think over time things were added and it came to be what it is now. But at the center of all these different belief systems and religions was the power of belief. And then someone realized that if you can get someone to believe something, you have their control, you have them controlled forever. And that is literally what advertising works off of, marketing, corporations. They create a belief system that people are magnetized to, because at the end of the day, all humanity is based in the same universal laws. And one of those is the power of belief. And I'm gonna leave it at there.
You said so many great things there, Kevin. And the one thing I started thinking about was, as soon as we're born, we're
Yeah.
literally put into a system that, is choreographed by generations of belief systems that have been passed down, that every human will only become successful if they're in this system. That starts with, you being in kindergarten, you being in these certain type of schools, you having religion put on you, and these processes will put out perfect humans, right? And I was just thinking about, like, when you said that, how imperfect of a science is this, right? Like, realizing that each one of us, we're not perfect, we're not alike, I mean, we have similarities, but we are all on our independent journey throughout this life. And what we're experiencing, nobody else is experiencing the same thing.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I think it's really important for others to understand this, is that our own human experience that's occurring is not like anyone else's experience. And the mirror that we're looking at in front of us, that can be very distorted. And for a long time, it was distorted for me because of all the adversity that occurred, because of the people that I hung out with, because of belief systems that weren't even mine, and then it's like, as I've focused on healing, as I've gone inside and to figure out what those answers are, I've noticed that mirror becoming a lot more smooth, a lot more clear. And most importantly, I know inside that I'm feeling really, really good. I'm feeling aligned with my soul's purpose. I'm aligned in my thoughts. I'm aligned with my emotions and my intuition. And from that alignment, I'm now creating something really beautiful. And I'm living a life that is aligned with what I feel my purpose is here. And so I just want to leave this last note for people that are listening out there. And if you're in this situation where you feel like you're stuck, or you're following these belief systems because your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad they're all following, but deep inside, it's not resonating with you anymore. That's a sign for you to take a step back and see what's going on inside. Why are you feeling that way? Why are you feeling disconnected? And you need to search within to find those answers. And I know you know what I'm talking about. This only resonates for those that it would be resonating for. It's that feeling of something isn't right. And when you have that feeling, don't suppress it. Don't push it to the bottom and try to be like, oh, it's okay. I'll get through whatever I'm feeling right now, because that's your body's way and your soul's way of telling you, hey, listen up. Something needs to change. Right? Like, listen to me.
Hey, listen, hey, you better listen to this.
So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, it's so funny to finish it off, you guys. I think my last words would be something I feared the most was solitude. And right now, Nick is also in solitude, hermit mode. But the reason why it's so beautiful is because you get to have that connection to the divine, to like that connection to God in that moment. And in this journey, you come to understand once you believe in yourself is great, but you didn't go far enough, because you have to know that I am, right? Like, when I can believe about many things, but if I say I believe in myself, and people tell me like I believe in myself, I'm like, great, that's amazing. The belief was something to start with, but then you have to know yourself. That when challenges come ahead, when life experiences come, can you get out of that? Because you know that you are capable, because you know that you are part of that. You are a little fractal of the creator. That's when you truly empower yourself. That's when you like really, I guess, reach self-mastery, right? When you know that you can. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
love
sing off
that.
that. I love that too. So
Remember, science can't explain everything. It can't explain consciousness, right? There's no explanation of consciousness when it comes to science. So remember, I agree. There has to be a belief that there is something, greater out there that's, playing itself out, whether it's energy, universe, nature, whatever you want to call it, God, Jesus, Lord Krishna. It doesn't really, all those things. But just there are some things that are unexplained, and that's where belief does have to come into play. That looks like that's the end of the podcast. For those that joined us, thank you so much. Until next time, peace.